afternoon, everyone. I'm MirandaAChristinaN. Today I'll be introducing our speaker for today. Now, a big problem for wildlife conservationists is preventing poaching. We've tried different methods to work on it, but it's really hard. And one of the new, interesting, and yet controversial methods that we've tried recently that we're working on recently, is using drones to deter and detect poaching. Now, some information about our speaker today. She is studying wildlife conservation and integrating technology into research. She also works with Invent's Living Learning Community Studio, as well as ILT, with inspiring engineers and scientists. Another interesting fact is that she illustrates fossils for the Paleobiology Lab and helps with comparative anatomy lab as well. She once sculpted a 6-foot-long dromaeosaurid, which is like a Labrador-sized velociraptor. So without further ado, Christina Nelson.
Hi, thank you, Miranda. So my name is Christina Nelson, and I'll be talking to you all about the use of drones in monitoring poaching today. So the objectives, I want you all to recognize the scale in which we're losing biodiversity due to human impact. Also, to realize the impact of poaching and why the impact of it goes up as species diversity goes down. Understand the need for technology to monitor and track poaching activity, and realize our role as scientists in working with engineers to refine this technology. So here are a few causes of species loss, and there are many more, but I was wondering if you all could kind of think about the top 4 out of these 5. If you all just wanted to think about that. And one that a lot of people I know say that hunting is a big cause of species loss, because you're killing animals and you lose that animal. And I'm going to address this a little further into my talk. So what we've been wondering, a lot of scientists are saying that we're coming into a 6th mass extinction, which means that we've noticed that in the past 40 years we've lost about 50% of our species, which over the human time period is about 25% of total species. And this has been due to deforestation, habitat loss, etc., resource exploitation. But anyway, it's been in the Anthropocene. They call it that. It's not a technical term, but it's supposed to mean the age of man. So one thing I want to clarify is that hunting is not poaching. It's like saying that shoplifting is the same as shopping. You might like shopping, but one's illegal and one is legal. So hunting can actually improve species populations. And poaching can take away, it often drives the species to extinction. The actual killing of animals isn't responsible for driving them off. It's as the species becomes rare, the demand for it goes up, and that's what causes the eventual loss of the resource. So it's a lucrative trade. Like I said, the rarer the species, the higher the demand. Rhinos are going extinct at a very fast pace, and their horn is worth from $1,000 to $5,000 per ounce. A lot of this is fueled by folk medicine. People think that different cures can come from rhino horn, from curing fever to gout, snake bites, and even being possessed by the devil. Some people think that elephant tusk can be a sign of luck if they have a trinket with them. As we all know, rhino horn is made of keratin, which is the same as our nails, so we might as well be chewing our nails to get these same assumed medical properties, which are oftentimes proven wrong by science. So here are just some examples of the type of, focusing on rhinos and elephants, the medicinal uses and how much it can be worth per ounce in the black market compared to drugs and gold. So the use of drones has been proposed by many people. It's a very controversial topic, like Miranda was saying. There are a lot of implications that can come from using drones for various reasons. It can be used to, it's an easier way to protect the species by using an aerial view. A lot of times people are on the ground and it's dangerous and you can't just get that much information. The design, you have to get a machine that runs quietly but also efficiently and that can hold either enough battery power or gas or whatever you're using to be able to have it run the time that you're surveying the area. And also you want to have it camouflage against the sky or wherever you're flying it because you don't want poachers to know where you are so they can just move off somewhere else. And oftentimes they use infrared and thermal imaging in the cameras when it's at night, and you can use just a normal type camera during the day. So timing. Most poaching happens between 6 and 8:30, and this is when all the animals are kind of grouping up for the night, and when the lighting's low, so people can go in and get their work done and get out with the tusk or horn. So we'll be flying the drones over that pre-programmed path during that time period. So enforcement, you need rangers always ready near the area that you're flying, and they have to be ready to go out in the field if the drone sends back any information. It's very costly and very dangerous. As we know, the poachers are going out with guns, with snares and knives, and they're going out to kill animals. So it's not safe to go out and just catch them. It's very dangerous, and many people get injured. So the costs, like I said, it's dangerous, your life. It also has little to no actual return in monetary value. Most of it's fueled by people wanting to conserve wildlife, but a lot of it is based off of wanting to conserve the population. The drones have to, like I mentioned earlier, they have to be monitored, flown, and tracked, and then recharged. So it's a lot of time and money. Some of the implications, privacy. People don't like the buzzing sound of the drones. They don't like the idea that there are eyes watching them from above. Cultural, people, a lot of times when people go out into their backyard, they don't want to have Western eyes watching their backyard. And some indigenous cultures hunt for sustenance, which they might be mistakenly thought of as poachers. But how do you know until someone's killed it and taken away just the tusk or just the horn that they're hunting for sustenance or for the commercial trade? And risks, as with all technology, it could fall into the wrong hands. That's something that we face with phones and computers and everything else. So weighing the pros and cons, we're going to have to decide if those risks are worth it. So some other implications with wildlife, there have been some studies done on bears, seeing how they react to drones being flown over their areas that they're active. And they noticed, although they didn't have a behavioral change, they have GPS and heart rate monitors on them. And they found that their heart rate went from about 40 beats per minute to 120, I believe. And that can have a big physiological toll on them if every night from 6:30 to 8:30, you're flying the drone over where they live. Whether it's bears or elephants, we don't know. So we're going to have to do research in this field. So by developing and refining this technology, we'll be able to have a lot more resources for not only watching poaching, but for helping with research in other areas of wildlife conservation, from habitat monitoring to just watching their behavioral interactions. So there's a big need for innovation. Just because we're scientists or natural resource or whatever we want to be, doesn't mean that we can't work with engineers to improve this technology. Many people kind of shut themselves off from thinking that the innovative field is just for those engineering type minds, but we can make such useful tools for our field alongside these people. So, for quiz time, what % of animals on the earth have gone extinct or are reduced in numbers due to our impact within the past, I think this is the past 40 years. Yeah.
Wasn't it 50%?
Yeah. Yeah, and so that's why I was saying 50% in the past 40 years of just total animals, but 25 have gone completely extinct. What are some main differences between hunting and poaching? And this is just a general question. Have any thoughts? Yes?
One's illegal, one's not.
Yeah.
I would say the difference between hunting and poaching, like poaching is more so, there's no real art of selection. Whereas with hunting, you're not necessarily just going out there to kill just to be killing. Like it's more of a selection process and trying to figure out what would be the best sustainable method of, coming back home not empty-handed, basically. But at the same time, you're not just trying to eliminate something, you're trying to actually benefit from it, in a sense.
Yeah, and one big difference, I don't think I mentioned this, but one's for a commercial trade, and that's something that we phased out in the past few years, was we don't want people to be hunting deer for commercial reasons. That's what drove bison to extinction, or near extinction. And that's what hunting and regulations allow people to get what they need for themselves instead of trying to get animal parts for the market. So, yeah. And what are some aspects that fuel poaching? I think I mentioned some. Like I said, the rarity of the animal, there's a higher demand. Aesthetic reasons, a tiger's fur pattern, people just think that looks cool. Medicinal, whether it's true or not, and for money. So in conclusion, as technology advances, the costs can go down quite a bit. And so we don't want to just limit ourselves with the costs. Like I said, an innovative mind is worth more than just putting money into it, because money, you're going to have to pay a lot to, it takes millions of dollars to run these programs per year, but if people put work into making technology that's cheaper and more fuel efficient, we can make this a lot easier. And, yeah. Any questions?
I have one, and it may not have an answer just because, the researchers may not figure it out, but you said, drones flying over bears would increase their heart rate. I could understand how, a rabbit or something that has predators in the sky would be, scared of that, but why would a bear be concerned of something flying over them?
Not sure. So, like I said, that's what more research would be done to figure out. But, yeah, that was just something interesting that we found. I would think a plane flying over would also do the same. That's something we haven't even really done much thought into. So, yeah. And kind of think about over and over what it would do to a predator that isn't used to having something else fly over every once in a while, having that reaction. Yes?
Kind of going off his question, what kind of effect would it have on local birds?
I'm not sure. I know birds of prey sometimes, well, some people actually are training birds of prey to catch drones, which is kind of very controversial. But, there's a risk that birds could either be affected by that sound or that they could try to attack it to get it away from where they live. So, yeah. That's where research needs to be done, perhaps a future route in your wildlife nature. Yes?
So, back to the implications. When it said like cultural and all that, wouldn't they be used on preserves? So like there wouldn't be anybody to spy on. And wouldn't they be used on the rangers? So it's not technically westernized.
Yeah, just kind of the idea that another country, because usually they wouldn't, a lot of this effort is coming from countries that have a lot of money, and they're sending it in, and to kind of think that that you're being monitored in your, even if it's a preserve, if someone is flying drones over your national parks, how would you feel? And also they would they're tracking the herds as they move, or areas that poaching is popular. So oftentimes that's on the edge of human society, because there's a divide where there's human society and then the preserve, and it's slowly getting smaller. Well, thank you.